Are you not confident in that Ireland can get a result just because of everything, or just because of the last little while, or maybe, I don't know.
I think a draw would be a very, very good result. Yeah, I think it would be a very, very good result. And I think, the odds dictate that. I mean, what is the most likely outcome if you look at the odds? The most likely outcome is a Greece win. And that's just the fact of the matter. It's not even really my opinion. It's just, again, I often say the bookmakers don't often get these things wrong. Greece are expected to win this match. I would think if you speak to anybody in Greece or speak to the Greece team management or players, they will be very disappointed if they don't take 3 points on Friday night.
What's your assessment, Gavin? You want to jump in there, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed at your pessimism, Shane, I have to say. You can't see how any way in which we can win.
No, I don't think they're the words I used. I would be surprised if we won.
They were. I wrote them down. Those are your words. It's kind of a fun. It is kind of a funny one, isn't it? Because it's one of those strange games where both teams kind of think that they should win. Let's rephrase that. There's a perception in the kind of environment around both teams. So maybe the media and fans from both countries believe that they should be going and winning this game. And part of me thinks, yeah, Ireland should be winning this game because, we're a long time into the Stephen Kenny reign now. He has talked so optimistically and boldly at times about the potential in the team. You're thinking, well, look, you've had a long time and a lot more leeway than previous managers have got to in terms of time and results, etc. You should be in a position now where you're able to go away to Greece and win the game. But then, when you look at their squad compared to ours, a draw is probably the most likely. A draw is the most likely result. It's difficult to make a case that Ireland would win with some ease. Greece is the top scorer in the Dutch Eredivisie in Duvakis, and just didn't put him in the squad. Okay, you can make your jokes about how many goals what goals in Holland are worth, but if we had the top scorer in Holland, there's not a chance he wouldn't be in the squad. And they've got experience like Premier League players in Tsimikas at left back and other guys playing at a very good level obviously the Greek league is of a decent level. The goalkeeper Vlachodimos plays at Benfica, and they've got guys playing the Turkish Super League and so forth and scoring goals at that level. So if you're analysing player for player and the level at which they play, you'd have to say that Greece would shade it. The hope is that to go back to what you're saying, Dave, the hope is that Ferguson
and they're at home, Gav.
And they're at home.
And they're at home. Surely that has a big bearing on things here. What is the weather like over there at the moment?
It is fairly hot, but the kickoff is not till 9:45 p.m. local time. So that's not going to be as warm as it might have been, and certainly makes a lot of the stuff I wrote a while ago about this game, fretting about the heat, look kind of stupid.
But they only confirmed the actual time of it. They only confirmed there was a feeling that it was going to be an earlier kickoff, wasn't there? That it was only when it was in the last maybe month or so, or a couple of 6 weeks, 8 weeks maybe, that they tied down the actual kickoff. And sure, to be honest, the FAI are probably raging. They could have easily have saved a lot of hassle by going to a warm weather training camp in Antigua by just staying here. It's been absolutely roasting. I'm here in a Blanche. I'm 5 minutes around the corner from Abbottstown. As you can probably see by my face, I am absolutely red here, roaring red. That's what factor 50. And poor Shane as well. Poor Shane as well can't even wear the baseball hat. Head is burnt to bits.
Poor Shane is the only man involved in the whole League of Ireland who's not in a different country right now. So he is, but I'm happy enough given this weather.
That's why he's being so pessimistic. He's absolutely ruined. He's killing himself there. He's I should be away on a holiday here, feet up, having a packet of salt and vinegar lays by a pool in Portugal somewhere or whatever. Worrying about which one of his players is down the old town making a show of himself.
Yeah, I'm really just raging that I wasn't quick enough to impose some sort of fines that anybody texting into the WhatsApp group while on holidays gets fined €10 per text. Even as we're chatting here, I'm getting stupid text messages into our WhatsApp group from the very, very drunk footballers that I have scattered around Europe at the moment.
We flew out on Saturday morning, and Terminal 1 departures area was like League of Ireland mix-up. It was just players and managers getting out of town as quickly as they could. Sorry.
I wonder which some of those players will come back. I think your man created a Pat seems to be gone. I think that deal was only till July. Someone was telling me a Pat's that could be he could be a goner now. They don't expect him to come back. Freddie Draper. I know he's going to go back onto Ireland, but while you mention it, and it's easy. But Freddie Draper, possibility. Would you reckon he'll stick around the draw? He's a smashing season, hasn't he? So far?
He's been brilliant. Yeah, he's been very, very good for them. They will definitely need him. I mean, Drogheda must be sick. Like, Drogheda have absolutely overachieved so far this season, and now all of a sudden they're looking at a league table and they're wondering, how the hell are we not miles clear of Cork here? But unfortunately for them, Cork have gone on a run over the last few weeks that was pretty much impossible to predict. So it looks like it's going to be a very, very tight one between the two of them.
So now we could drag ourselves back into chatting about this, and I would love to, but we will do maybe something after, maybe closer to next week, I suppose, when the break is over and all the rest of it on how things are set up. But with Ireland, this game, Gav, like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling yourself then in terms of? Because remember this again, this game kind of seems as if it's going to be a much more tougher version of the Armenia game last year. I know that was the first game of the campaign, where it could be a case of Ireland maybe being allowed to have the ball, but then, like, speaking to people about Poya, he wants his teams to try and dominate games as well. You know, like they romped their League C group. Like if Ireland were to have done what they did against who was it? I think it was Cyprus, Northern Ireland as well, and win 5 of their 6 games and do it in the manner they did, like, regardless of the fact that it's the league below, and it's still impressive, and as what Shane says, but like, from a point of view of Ireland actually going to try and take this game and win this game, I know we mentioned it in Ferguson, we always do a bit flippantly, but as a pattern of where they can go and do this, what are you hoping to see from Ireland?
I actually think that it might be a bit more counter-attacking than you might expect from Ireland. You touched on there, like, a crucial point about Greece that Stephen Kenny was joking about as well, that they actually have a lot of possession in games. Like, I mean, they lost a friendly game to Hungary recently. It was only 2-1. They had 63% of the ball against Hungary. You know, they've had the game, the most of the recent games. They haven't played France or the Netherlands yet. I think they've only played Gibraltar in the group so far. So they've not been, had the ball taken off them by far severe opposition. But the teams of a similar level to them, and Ireland are, let's face it, of a similar level to them. They generally have a lot of the ball. So I think Ireland might, it might be more of a counter-attacking game than I was initially thinking. And then I actually think Ogbene, who's obviously injured, is more of a loss than I initially thought he was, having kind of reassessed for that counter-attacking style. So Stephen Kenny said something interesting during that sit-down with us on Sunday, that, Ireland basically have 2 systems, really. It's either a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3. So the difference in that is either, a midfielder or a striker. 3-5-2 is obviously a striker alongside Ferguson. He said, 3-4-3 gives a little bit more control in games. 3-5-2 is a little bit better counter-attacking wise. So I think he'll actually go with 3-5-2. Obviously, Ferguson will start. Ogbene won't be there to play alongside him and run in behind the fullbacks for Greece. Like, most of their ball progression comes through the fullbacks. It'll be John Egan's mate, George Baldock, at right back, probably, and then definitely Simicast of Liverpool at left back. So they bomb on and they get forward. And that's really how they get up the pitch. So that should leave space behind them. So you're really missing Ogbene as a result. So you'd imagine that Obafemi is the favourite to play alongside Ferguson, given he started alongside him against Latvia at the start of the year. But if you want someone to run into the channels, like Adam Ida has done that in the past. We saw how well he did it especially away to Portugal in 2021. Ida's, in theory, a good penalty box finisher, but actually a lot of his best work has come outside the penalty area. So if you could, just keep that in his game, and it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for Ireland now that they'll have Ferguson in the penalty area to hopefully finish off whatever chances are created. So team selection wise, I think that's kind of, that kind of system and approach is what I'm thinking is going to happen. I don't know what Shane thinks.
Yeah, I'm not quite on it yet. I will be by tomorrow. I'm sitting down tomorrow to do an opposition analysis piece for the site. So I'll do a real deep dive into Greece from tomorrow morning. We should have that up from maybe tomorrow evening, Thursday morning at the latest. But just, building on one or two of the points that Gav made, over the last calendar year, Greece have averaged 64% possession, which is serious going, averaging 2/3 of the ball. Okay, they haven't played many powerhouses over that last calendar year, but that's still quite impressive when you compare it to Ireland's 50%, basically 50.6, pretty much bang on half of the ball. So, you know, Stephen obviously has tried to make us as, you know, reasonably possession-based as possible without being silly, but I would agree with Gav's assertion there that I do think we're going to have to play for long periods without the ball tomorrow. You know, Bene one, like the quotes there that Stephen has made about the two systems, yeah, and for me, the reason of Bene has become so important is, you know, I've had this, we've spoken about this before in terms of systems and what number you put on the system. I think more often than not now, there's a certain number that you put on the system when you're in possession, and there's a certain number you put on the system when you're out of possession. And what Bene allows you to do is Bene allows you to be 3-5-2 when you have it, and then allows you to go with the more pragmatic kind of, I suppose, 5-4-1 almost you'd call it without it, because he's got so much legs. He can go and he can go and be your strike partner when you have it, and he can go and play right wing in front of whoever the right wing back is when you don't have it. And I just wonder, you know, I don't see an out and out like for like replacement there in terms of somebody who can do that. I probably would have been possibly pushing Mikey Johnson in terms of, is he the sort of fella who could do that? I think he possibly is. He could get up there and be alongside Ferguson when we have it, and yet dart out into a wide defensive position when we don't. So I'd certainly give him a chance maybe of finding himself in the starting team, quite possibly.
Could Smallbone do that? Seeing him,
I don't know. I don't. For me personally, I would be looking at it being Smallbone or Knight. I think they've got a very, very similar skill set, and I think they're the two that are competing with each other for a position there.
Right. Well, because it's just
I
interesting.
think.
Go on, sorry, go on, Gavin.
I was just going to say, midfield wise, I mean, Cullen will obviously definitely start, and then you're looking at, I don't know how close Jeff Hendrick is. I think Alan Brown is really kind of cover a right wing back, and he's not fully fit. I think he could play the last 20 minutes in Greece. I don't think he'll start. I think the right wing back role will be a job share between Doherty and Brown, given neither have played a lot of football lately. So you'd imagine the midfield, it'll be a midfield three. You pick two. So Cullen is obviously in there, and you pick two from Malumbi, from Knight, and from Smallbone. Maybe Smallbone is more suited to the home game against Gibraltar, where you're going to have more of the ball and you're trying to, you know, pick the lock of the deep lying defence. I also think Johnston is absolutely perfect for that game against Gibraltar. I wonder, I don't know, we haven't asked Kenny. It would be a good question to ask him later on in the week, whether the team selection for this game is at all informed by what he wants, who he wants for the Gibraltar game on Monday. But Johnston's inclusion he would have a compelling case for himself, wouldn't he? Because he has actually been playing regularly. You know, he's one of the very few players. He played, I think, all of Vitória Guimarães' last 9 games in Portugal, and that season ran right up until the weekend before last, as far as I know. And he was talking to us this week as well in a piece you'd be able to read on Thursday, as far as I know.
And do you think it could be 2 from 3, Gav?
He says, you know, he's a traditional winger. Sorry, say that again.
Do you think it could be 2 from 3? I would have thought surely it's 1 from 2. Surely would it not be 2 attacking for it to be Knight and Smallbone together? Sure, and Malumbi out. Surely Malumbi has to start, no?
Do you think so? I would guess that Malumbi would start, because he's kind of a firm favourite, and you know he's played really well in the Championship this season. Knight has done well, but it's been at League One. You know, I mean, you'd imagine that maybe, I would say that Malumbi is probably of those 3 that I picked. I think Malumbi is probably the safest. I'd probably agree with you, to be honest.
No, I think you're right. I think Malumbi will play, and also, you've seen him. I think there is a bit more discipline in his game than maybe you probably would have imagined even a while ago. Like, he does seem to have that in him. I don't think, obviously with the heat and all the rest of it, but if Ireland, you would think it makes sense if Ireland there to kind of soak up a bit of pressure and have someone who can do that in midfield and still cover a bit of ground. And then also he's capable of being one of those midfielders who can burst forward too. You know what I mean? He's not gonna. You would imagine it'd be Cullen who might be told to sit and all the rest of it. But you would think that Malumbi would be ideal for that, Shane. Yeah, in terms of being able to try and support and be that maybe another runner into the box if needs be.
Yeah, 100%. I'd be really, really surprised if he found himself out of the side. As Gav says, he's an absolute Kenny favourite, and for me, he has that skill set of, you know, when you look at it there, what are you looking at? You're looking at essentially having Cullen will be your 6, so you're looking at having 2 8s, right? One who will play as a traditional 8, and one who will play as a tucked in 8 off one side or the other. For me, the 8 who plays central has to be an 8 come 6 rather than an 8 come 10. And I would look at Knight and Smallbone as both 8 come 10s.
And sorry, just to finish my earlier point, sorry, David.
Yeah,
I think Johnson could maybe play that role as well. Like, he has been playing something similar to it in Portugal. He's been playing just behind the striker more centrally, and then slightly off the left, like not the full left winger, but maybe kind of midway between number 10 and wide on the left. So I don't know. Maybe I think he's another contender, although maybe his impact against Latvia and France has earned him super sub status for now.
But it is an obvious one, Shane, isn't it, though, in the sense of just the more flexibility you have from players within a game and being able to change it very easily of using personnel who are already on the pitch rather than having to maybe make substitutions. That's going to feed into thinking, isn't it, in terms of for Stephen Kenny and his staff, in terms of different players who can offer different things essentially, and not have to maybe, I should say, just think on their feet a little bit of changing things on the pitch.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, when you got somebody like Ogbene who can essentially do two quite different roles for you in and out of possession, that is a big help. That is a big help. It really is. And that's why for me, I would go with Mikey Johnston. I would. Similar to Gav, I was just looking at some of his highlights recently and looking at where I have been using him, and that kind of thing. And I just think skill set wise, I think he's the most similar to Ogbene. There seems to be, like, you used to see him a good bit when he was playing at Celtic, and I would have to admit not seeing a huge amount of him as much anymore. But I had maybe a bit of a perception in my head that he'll give you a hell of a lot going forward, but is he going to quite give you enough going the opposite direction for a game like this where you're away to a team that are ranked roughly similar to you? But just watching the bits and clips that I've seen and looking at kind of some of his numbers, I think he does. I do think he's got an appetite for work. That's why I would lean towards him.